Every time we think, every time we feel emotion, we are generating frequency. And so our totality of thought, perception, attitude, emotion, together forms a perceptual field, a frequency field, a perceptual field around us, which we're generating all the time. And so that field and its nature is interacting with this field of possibility and probability, the sea of consciousness. And therefore, our perceptual state becomes our frequency state, becomes the frequency level that we interact with the field of possibility, probability. So if you have a self-identity and a perception that you have no power, that you are little me, that you got to follow because you're just a pawn in a game you don't understand, well, that is a sense of severe limitation. Your perceptions are all about limitation. They're about I can't, it's not possible. And therefore that perceptual field thus created by that perceptual state is going to interact with the field of possibility and probability in that band of frequency represented by your sense of limitation and I can't and I have no power. And this feedback loop, if you like, this interaction will deliver as a experience what you perceive things to be, they will appear to be. What you believe you perceive, what you perceive you experience. And so you look at people who have this sense of limitation, of I can't, of I have no power, and you look at their lives and they're living limited, no power lives. And then people go through this awakening, as it's called. Awakening from what? Awakening from the prison cell of the five senses. And through this expanded self-identity, leaving behind the labels of a human life as the constitution of the I, and saying that, you know, those labels are what I'm experiencing in a brief human life. What I am, the true I, is that consciousness that's having those experiences. So I am much greater than just human. I'm just much greater than the experiences that I'm having. Then that self-identity expands your sense of possibility, your sense of self, and you start to expand both in terms of frequency and range the interaction that you're having with the field of possibility and probability. And so when people go through this awakening process, awakening to the greater self, they find that they start to get synchronicity in their lives. Things start to happen. They have bits of luck just when they need it. Their life becomes peppered with fancy seeing you here. What's the chances of that? Why? Because now they're interacting with possibility and probability, the field, in a much more expanded way. And so they're able to manifest far greater possibility and potential into an experience. So people of that nature, their life starts to become an adventure, a spontaneous adventure instead of a highly predictable kind of daily existence. And the only difference between little me and infinite me is the perception of who we are, the perception of self-identity. So if you look at the messages that we are given by the system throughout our life, from a little child, really, it's you have no power. You have no power. You have to look to your betters. You have to look to authority because you have no power. And if we take that on, then we'll create that reality. And this awakening is breaking that circuit. And that's why people that that are going through it see their life often dramatically change. Not only that, in terms of synchronicity, but their range of friends and acquaintances that they interact with often change dramatically. Mine did, because now you're resonating on a different frequency because your perceptions of self and the world have changed. And so you start attracting, I call it, a form of magnetism. You start attracting like frequencies. And so suddenly people are coming in your life, the people that you're no longer syncing with because they're still there, they kind of move out or take a more distant role. And suddenly your life changes, including the personnel around you. And it's all happening not by random, not by accident, not by chance, but by the perceptions that have transformed you, then transform your life. Now you can see, I'll finish the point here, but you can see why this cult has as its bottom line keeping this dynamic from us. Because what it's doing, because it knows how this works, is constantly through the education system, through the media, through peer pressure, through authorities in all its forms, they are trying to download our perception, because they know that once they've got the perception, they've got the behavior, they've got the experience that people will have. You have a vast number of people who think they're little me, they're a doddle to control and direct. And if you look at the sequence, perception comes from information we receive. It can be a television news bulletin, it can be a Facebook post, it can be a personal experience, or it can come out of the expanded field as we expand into greater ranges of consciousness. All those are sources of information which form our perception. And from perception comes our behavior. And collective behavior is what we call human society. So all this hysterical censorship that's going on is obviously a part of the process of controlling the information to dictate our perception, which then creates our experience and our behavior and collectively human society. And so this cult is working on that level. We see how it plays out in what we call, the human society, the world of the scene, in daily events. But this is the dynamic they have to control, because once we take our perceptions back, we take our experience back, we take our behavior back, we take the world back collectively.